whole industry, what they class as uneconomic.
I don't care what anybody says, there's no such thing as an uneconomic pit. You can take Colwood's own figures, because if they shut a pit, they've still got to pay pensions, they've still got to pay subsidence money, they've still got to pay interest on loans to government, they've still got to pay redundancy. That's if they want us all on dole, and then they've got to pay us dole money. And don't forget, it's not just miners then, you're talking about a knock-on situation, because for every 100 miners that lose a job, there's 87 other people in other industries who lose their jobs. It's not but a big con, because it don't save money to shut pits, it costs money.
Since the end of the strike, we've been active members of Justice for Mine Workers campaign, and we are privileged to have the chair here with us tonight, Billy Etherington. I would like to ask him to come up and say a few words.
Yes, Madam Chair, if I can get through. You always go underground, you know, Billy. I've tried that for 21 years, see, but it didn't work too well. Comrades, brothers and sisters, friends, I'm very, very proud to be here tonight. You'll gather from my accent that I belong to the northeast of the country, and for my pains I've been involved with the National Justice for Mine Workers campaign. And that's been about trying to right a wrong. 1,000 men at the end of the strike was sacked. And that wasn't because they'd done things wrong, it was to act as a deterrent and as intimidation against the rest of the workforce. That was what it was about. And that's what I've been involved with. And I pay tribute to the North Staff's wives group. And I'll tell you why I do. Since the end of the dispute, they have never ever missed a meeting which has been called to try and look after the welfare and interest of my SAC colleagues. Never missed a meeting. They've put functions on, they've organised things, they've made sure that their voice was heard. And I wish that was the case throughout the whole of the industry. I ask you one thing. I ask that you stand by the values that we say we believe in. Because if you don't do that, and if you don't follow those values, none of us are worth anything.
Them people who gave their lives, such as Mice and Davy, who gave their lives, people can turn around and say, well, was it worth it? And you could say in that context it wasn't. But if I was to lose a son, or a brother, or anybody, I would want it to be in a just fight, and fighting for his class. I wouldn't want him to go and shoot some other working class person abroad and get shot by them for just capital gain. They were fighting for a principle, and he paid with his life, which was unfortunate. But I have no recrimination. No, I supported him all the way, and I still support him all the way. It was a just fight. And a lot's come out of it. There was a theatre in Liverpool, named after the miners who died. And there's a sculpture in Stowe Museum, fabulous sculpture. And it's worth seeing, and it'll be there forever to remind people. And people should be reminded of what happened in 84. It was a fabulous, it was the greatest working class struggle that this country's ever seen.
In one respect, I would like not to have done it, because I would have liked for there not to have been a reason for such a memorial, that British working people should be killed in a legitimate dispute. It's an obscenity.
I'll just just introduce you to Arthur Scarborough.
Well, I'd like to say that I was deeply disappointed in not being able to be with you on the unveiling ceremony. But looking at this brilliant, magnificent sculpture today, it does indeed reflect and depict what took place in 1984 and 1985. And I suspect that in years to come, there will be people wander around this museum who may have read one snippet of history, who upon seeing this sculpture will more fully understand and appreciate what the dispute was about, what the conflict was about. It's interesting that in 1991, which is quite a way after the strike ended, we are now beginning to see emerge evidence that demonstrated that it was the Thatcher government who were determined to butcher this industry, butcher the mining communities, and savagely attack the British NUM. It's highly significant that on this sculpture are the names and the figures of two of our heroes who paid the ultimate price in the defence of jobs, the defence of our industry, and the defence of their communities and their way of life. David Jones and Joe Green. I was at the picket line at Ullerton when David Jones was killed that night. And I knew personally over many years Joe Green. So both of them are not strangers in any sense, in any shape or form. Both were not only members of the NUM, but both were known to me, and in David's case, his family have become quite close to me in the years that followed. But what does stand out is the fact that these young men who paid the ultimate price have done so against a background and against a sense of new revelation, which demonstrates that the Tory government engineered all that took place during the bitter days of 1984 and 1985. These two young men and all those who took part fought for an industry, fought for a right to have a future. They fought in order that the mining industry could survive, develop and expand into the 21st century. Here we have a country built on coal. We actually produce, if you compare like with like, the cheapest deep mine coal in the world. That means everywhere. And yet, the stupidity in economic and social and political terms of this government are so blinded by hatred for the NUM that they are prepared to import coal produced by children aged 7 from Colombia, or coal produced by virtual slave labour in South Africa on the pretext that it represents reasonable and free competition. And above all, they say, it's cheaper than British coal. You know and I know that that is absolute arrant nonsense. And our balance of payments is adversely affected, each and every one of us, as a result of that misguided policy. How many people remember, for example, Leon Britton, now departed to the European Common Market, then the Home Secretary, talking about the criminals at Orgreave, and talking about the riot that carried a term of imprisonment if found guilty of life. You will be aware that in the past few weeks it has been now seen by everybody that what took place at Orgreave was a travesty, and that the police have had to pay out substantial sums of money to 49 people who were wrongly accused, maliciously prosecuted, wrongly imprisoned, and charged with riot. Hundreds were put into hospital, and hundreds of people faced arrest on the allegation of so-called violence. Not one police officer has been charged with any offence. And yet they've paid out in the past few weeks over £500,000 in compensation for damage inflicted on colleagues of ours whose only crime was to fight for their industry, their job, their family and their dignity as trade unionists.
We haven't been defeated, we're not defeated. We've been found not guilty on a trumped-up charge. Everybody knows it was trumped up right from day one, and that's it.
They should have been charged with rioting, no me. That's the kind of mess that they left me in. And then they gave us a trumped-up charge of riot that could have got life imprisonment.
At Orgreave, us miners, we experience firsthand the full power at stake against industrial workers. And if people think it will only be used against miners or people on peace rallies, they better open their eyes up a little bit, because this government will use it against anyone to get their own means.
The Labour government is still a capitalist state. The state will be used against it. And if it attempts to renationalise and to go on a programme of socialist policies, the capitalist state would arm itself against him and would stop him at every toss and turn. There's no way that voting in a Labour government is any answer. The answer has to be that working class will rise up, it'll smash capitalist state, and it'll take power. It has no choice but to do that.
We'd set back on our laurels from 1974 and rested back, and they're prepared. They practised in Ireland, they practised in Brixton and Toxteth. And when it were our turn, they perfected the techniques and they used them to great effect on us.
A couple of months ago we went over to Belfast to sing, and when we were coming back through Manchester Airport, we were stopped by a special branch and held under the Prevention of Terrorism Act for 7.5 hours. Oh, Belfast City, I never met you before. The tanks and guns and the armoured cars, the paintings on your walls, the children playing in your bombed out bars, the fires that burn on the falls. They didn't tell us because they thought we were terrorists. They held us to frighten us and stop us from going to Ireland. We marched with you along the falls, our heads high in the air, with helicopters overhead and soldiers everywhere. We raise our banner next to yours, it flutters in the breeze. We know this war will never end until your land is free. We know this war will
ਸਾਰੇ ਭੈਣ ਭਰਾ ਰਲ ਕੇ ਹਨਾ ਤੇ ਜੂਨੀਅਰ ਨੂੰ ਚੰਗਾ ਮਜ਼ਬੂਤ ਕਾਇਮ ਕਰਨ, ਵੀ ਚੰਗੀ ਸਟਰੋਂਗ ਬਣਾਉਣ ਜੂਨੀਅਰ ਨੂੰ, ਵੀ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਸਾਰੇ ਇਦਾਂ ਹੀ ਸਟਿਲ ਫਾਈਟ ਕਰੀਏ ਤੇ ਜੂਨੀਅਰ ਸਟਰੋਂਗ ਰਵੇ। See you tomorrow, guys.
Joe Wills, the Midlands Area Secretary and myself are going to go in here and we're going to ask the women to come out with us. After 4 days in there, in conditions which are terrible, it's time that we got them out. Now, if these guards are stopping us, they're going to have to stop me physically, and if they're going to stop us physically, my view is that we should all go in and get them out. But until that happens, stay back.
I've got to tell you that you're trespassing. I would ask you not to come on side.
Since I was 15 years of age, and I don't want you to tell me I'm trespassing on coal boat property which is owned by the British people. It's not your property, it's ours.
Hey,
I'm here.
No physical contact, that's what the police said. Get out the bloody road.
Got your number.
All right, okay.
No, it's brute force. Come on.
I missed you.
Glad to see you. Look,
Don't squash my shoes.
Don't squash me down.
Hi.
Today is